Wings Live on Fox Sports Detroit is presented by Arby's. The Wings turned to youngster Peter Mrazek in a big game against the high-flying Lightning yesterday. Mrazek and the defense responded as Tampa was shut out for the first time in 2 years. But no time to rest as the team gets right back at it, inching closer to a 24th consecutive playoff berth. It's Wings and Islanders in New York. Red Wings Live starts right now. Hello, everybody. Great to have you with us here on this Palm Sunday alongside the pastel and paisley clad Darren Elliott and Chris Osgood. You guys look good today.
Oh, thanks.
Unplanned. Yeah, unplanned, sure. All right, 8 games remain in the regular season, an important one in New York today on the tail end of this back-to-back.
Yeah, I think so. The Islanders are a desperate team that really needs to get some victories. Haven't won at home in 7 games. The Red Wings power play's been 0 for 8. The last 2 games, penalty kills, been back to normal at 7 for 7. So special teams could be a difference maker here in Long Island today.
And like most teams at this time of year, everybody has reasons to try to garner points.
Absolutely. Well, hey, we know Peter Mrazek was magnificent between the pipes in yesterday's win against Tampa Bay. Made 23 saves, preserved a shutout against the most potent scoring team in the NHL. It was his 4th career shutout and improved his season record to 15-7-1. A confidence builder for sure for a guy who seems to rise to the occasion every time the Wings call on him.
You know, I played with him in Grand Rapids, and, you know, you guys have seen what he can do here this year, and obviously a real solid goalie. You know, he just kind of got that swagger to him that is hard to develop as a player.
He's good of playing the puck. We know that. He's a good goalie, but we have to play good in front of our goalies, and we did that tonight. We played better. You know, we didn't give him a lot of odd man rushes, and we kept it tight in front of Peter, and you know, makes it easier.
It felt great, you know. 2 points are huge for us. That was a big game. But you know, most important was the penalty on, you know, in the front in the second period. You know, they shoot from everywhere. Guys block it, but you know, I saw the puck very well. Guys, you know, what was in the net, they block it, or I saw every puck.
All right, guys, Mike Babcock says he's going back to Mrazek today since his workload was manageable on Saturday. How impressed are you with Peter's continued development and his demeanor yesterday?
I love it. I mean, every time he's been called upon, he takes that next step forward. And it wasn't just that he played well, and the guys did play well in front of him. It was a shutout. And so when that's the situation, you have to make some timely saves. The first save, important. But I just liked his overall game. He didn't seem to be outside his comfort level ever.
And I'm really not buying the workload thing. I think the reason he's playing is, one, the team played well in front of him, he played well, and he had a shutout. That's why he's back in the net today. And when he's playing, their team seems to be playing faster as of late, and his puck handling really helps. And today the Islanders have a great forecheck, so that's going to come in handy for the Wings defense.
Well, Mrazek will be the first to tell you can't take all the credit. Wings offense again was on point. 4 goals yesterday. It's 12 goals in their last 3 games. Justin Abdelkader netted his 23rd.
Yeah, for sure. And he's been Mr. Everything for this team for a while now, actually. In the dressing room, he's a leader. I've said it before, he's a leader without a letter. But now he's scoring. He's got the shot down blocker side, just a wonderful shot there, Nate. But he makes this happen to himself. Nyquist, good job to get pressure the Tampa Bay player in the neutral zone, but Abdelkader really starts skating, gets his feet moving there to really accomplish what he wanted, and that's to create a turnover here.
Creates a turnover. Hedman was left, hung out to dry at the blue line, but this is where Abdelkader getting his head up. He knows that's his shot above the pad, below the blocker. We've seen him score there now a handful of times this month. So he's fully confident in what he's doing. His head up was the whole way. He knew what he was going to do before he got to the net.
If he wasn't confident, he probably wouldn't even try that play against Hedman, who has a long reach. He had the confidence to not only beat him to puck, create turnover, and then his head's up the whole time. He makes a perfect shot and scores on a huge goalie with not a lot of room. So right now, he's playing at maximum capacity. His confidence is high.
Well, you mentioned Gus Nyquist, you know, team's 2nd leading goal scorer. He's back on track too, right?
Yeah, he to me, the last couple of games, it's not just that he finally found the back of the net. The thing is, he created his own shot last game. He seems to be more engaged. And Ozzy, you used the term playing on the inside. He did that much better. Here's what I'm talking about, creating his own shot. We saw him do that the first half of the year so often. Here we see that turnover that you created in the neutral zone, but also getting to the interior of the ice in the offensive third.
If you watch Gus Nyquist closely, when he's struggling, he's going away from the net. I thought last couple games, last week, he's went towards the goal. He's gravitated towards the opposition's tough areas and made things happen for himself. I love that goal he scored. It was a playoff-type goal. Out rushed the guy to the puck. Nice tip over Bishop. So I love that goal for Nyquist, and he's playing well right now.
Yeah, 24 goals for Nyquist. Any one of those guys, either Gus or Abs, could be in line for the Player of the Game honors. Stay tuned to Red Wings Live following the game, where we'll select the Fox Sports Detroit Red Wings Player of the Game, presented by the Shamrock Shake from McDonald's. After Saturday's 4-0 victory over the Lightning, the Red Wings forward Luke Glendening wore some battle scars of a team hell-bent for a 24th straight year in the Stanley Cup playoffs. For Keith Gave's column on that and more Red Wings coverage, go to foxsportsdetroit.com. The Wings are inching closer and closer to extending their playoff berth, maybe even a run like they had in 2008. We relive Detroit's last cup as we continue our streak to 24. Next. Red Wings Live is brought to you by Flagstar Bank, a proud and official partner of the Detroit Red Wings, and by your local Toyota dealers. Visit buyatoyota.com. Toyota, let's go places. The Detroit Red Wings last hoisted the Stanley Cup in 2008. It marked Detroit's 11th championship overall and the first for Mike Babcock. It was a terrific series that went 6 games against the Pittsburgh Penguins. We relive it now as part of our streak to 24.
After coming up short in the conference final the season before, Detroit was hungry to get back to the mountaintop. GM Ken Holland was busy over the offseason, letting free agents Matthew Schneider, Robert Lang, and Todd Bertuzzi pursue other offers, while signing hometown boy Brian Rafalski and former wing Dallas Drake. Rafalski brought another top-tier defenseman to one of the best blue lines in the league. The Stanley Cup champion joined a defensive squad full of young players like Nicholas Kronwall, Jonathan Erickson, and Kyle Quincy, but anchored by veterans Chris Chelios and Nick Lidstrom. Detroit also had another terrific tandem between the pipes. Dominic Hasek and Chris Osgood combined to lead the league in goals against. Only 179 pucks beat the Dominator and the Wizard of Oz, 49 fewer than the league average. But it was another dynamic duo who really lit it up in 2007-2008. That season, the Euro Twins officially took charge of Detroit's offense. If there were any doubts who would fill the shoes of Yzerman, Fedorov, and Shanahan, Pavel Datsyuk and Henrik Zetterberg silenced them in the best way. Lots and lots of points. The magic of number 13 was on full display as Datsyuk dazzled his way to 31 goals and team-leading 66 assists.
Datsyuk right wing, waits, shoots, scores! Oh, a great Datsyukian deke right there, and a great shot by Pavel Datsyuk!
Not to be outdone by his line mate, Zetterberg had a career-best scoring season, finding the back of the net 43 times.
Datsyuk needs just 1 goal for a personal best. Zetterberg, there it is!
But it was Johan Franzen who came through down the stretch. The Mule had 6 game-winning goals in the last month of the season, a run that broke a record set by none other than Gordie Howe. And the Wings vaulted to the top of the standings to capture the Central, the West, and another President's Trophy. Franzen, Zetterberg, Datsyuk, Osgood, and Lidstrom all stayed hot into the Stanley Cup Finals, where Detroit slew the hated Pittsburgh Penguins in 6 games. It was the 17th straight playoff appearance and the 4th Stanley Cup victory since the streak began.
All right, Ozzy, you pitched shutouts in both games, 1 and 2 of that 2008 Cup. What kind of memories come back to you?
Just when I had to go in, I was on the bench and we were playing in Nashville. I don't recall the scoring. It was 3-2 maybe, and it wasn't really a time that a coach would put his other goalie, and Babcock looked at me and told me to get in. I'm like, really? I just went in there, and when I was standing there, I wasn't really thinking about too much. Draper came down and said, you know, this is your time. It's your time to shine. Let's go do this. And I thought, yeah, it is. You know, it was that simple.
Yeah.
And ended up, we didn't lose for quite a while, and it was a nice run, and we ended up winning. So
how close did Hossa come at the end there?
The time it expired. I was watching. I was mad at Drapes because he went on. Drapes knows it if he's watching. Drapes went on a ridiculous. Drapes went on a line change. This is what all started this for no reason. calls himself a defensive forward, but the time's already out, and I knew it was that time.
There it is.
It was in the neutral zone. We dumped it out with like 8 seconds left, I think. So I was already assuming that this thing is over. Next thing I look up, I think it was Melkin and Crosby were on a 2-on-1. And Drapes was going off this way. And then, thank God, it hit me in the shoulder, and that was it. And actually, it was a rocket backhander. It was probably had me beat. It just hit me, went off, and then I had known there was no time left.
Well, it must have been a rocket because it knocked you on your chin.
You mean that technical save that I made at the end there? Trust me, I was scrambling for dear life at the end there.
That was awesome, though.
That was awesome. That's a lasting memory right there, one of the more iconic images from the 08 Cup. Hey, while the Wings are gearing up for the playoffs yet again, another team's about to get their season started. Opening day for the Tigers just 8 days away. With opening day comes new security regulations at the park. Fans are encouraged to enter Comerica Park early on opening day with gates opening at 11 a.m. Fans are going to be asked to remove phones, keys, wallets, and other large objects before entering a screening process at the gates. For a list of permitted and non-permitted items, you can go to tigers.com. Coming up next, we bring the guys back to talk playoffs, who they think will be in, who will be on the outside looking in, and the race is most likely to come down to the wire as Red Wings Live pregame rolls along. With the Wings' shutout victory over Tampa Bay yesterday, they were able to stay 5 points ahead of Boston in the playoff race, while the Bruins jumped ahead of the Senators, who lost in overtime to Toronto. Ottawa did pick up 1 point, still has a game in hand on the Bruins, so we love doing this. If the playoffs started today, here's what it would look like in the East, fellas. Detroit with a 5-point advantage on the Bruins and sends 2 teams fighting it out for the final wild card spot. Take us through it.
Well, for me, Red Wings play the Bees and the Sens next week, so obviously this is very volatile. Could change at any time. In the East, other than our projected matchup with the Tampa Bay Lightning, I think that's the best matchup. The other one that intrigues me is whoever the Isles end up playing right now, it's Pittsburgh.
Yeah, absolutely. I like the Rangers. They had a great season. I mean, their goalies have really stood up while Lundqvist has been out. This team is great. They're great defensively, have the offense now, and they have the goaltending. But Washington's a big team, and we'll be capable of really giving them a run for their money.
And how many times have Montreal and Boston faced each other in the first round? Like every year?
Every year. It seems like those two teams meeting. And Montreal's had this great year. Carey Price, possible MVP of the league. Also, they play Boston, a team that gets in. Now they're relieved they're there, and they know how to play playoff hockey. That's a tough series for Montreal as well.
All right, so we see a snapshot of what's happening in the East. Here's how things are shaping up in the West. How do you see these things, or how this kind of playing out for you here? Ozzy, we'll start with you.
Well, I'm going to leave Darren's Jets alone for this one, but I mean, I'm looking to see whoever St. Louis plays. This is a team that's always been good during the regular season, just hasn't been able to get it done in the playoffs. The pressure will mount extremely high once the playoffs start for this team. Elliott's in goal, really hasn't been playoff tested. This team has got a ton of pressure on it going into the playoffs. If they don't succeed, there's going to be some changes in St. Louis.
Yeah, if they play Minnesota, that's a favorable matchup. If it changes and they play Chicago in the first round, that could be difficult for the Blues. But yeah, I'm looking at the Ducks and the Peg. Here we go, the Jets and the Ducks. That would be an intriguing matchup.
And we didn't even talk about L.A. nestled on the left side. Yeah. This team, if they make the playoffs, you do not want to play them in the first round. If you're the Sundin Twins, that's your worst nightmare right there, to have to play the LA Kings in the first round.
Well, what about Ottawa and Boston?
What about them?
What about them?
Well, I think Ottawa, they've been the story down the stretch.
They had a huge loss last night. Got scored on late in Toronto. That's a huge loss of a point for them last night in Toronto. They got a game against Florida today, then they're going to come to Detroit Tuesday. So, I mean, they've been so successful. They've been so hot that eventually, as a player, it's going to end. And right now, they got to get a big win today. If they lose to Florida today, they could really send them reeling in the other direction.
Yeah, and they've been the story. They came out of nowhere with the Hamburglar, Hammond in goal. Great stuff, but really it looked like the 8 teams in the East were set a month ago, and Ottawa's really been the only one to contest that.
All right, very good. Well, we got another type of tournament taking place on the ice in East Lansing this weekend. 36 teams from across the country are battling for USA Hockey's Girls Tier 2 National Championships in the under 14, under 16, and under 19 divisions. Area teams competing include Kensington Valley, Troy, Ann Arbor, Livonia, Rochester, and Marquette. Semifinal action taking place today, with national titles on the line tomorrow in championship action at Suburban Ice, East Lansing. Good luck to all the teams out there. Well, up next, what do the Wings think of the playoff chase? Any scoreboard watching going on in the locker room? We'll get their thoughts on it coming up next on Red Wings Live. Time now for your Xfinity look around the league, and it's been quite the run for the Ottawa Senators the past month. And the story that has become the Hamburglar. With an overtime loss yesterday, the Bruins jumped in front of the Sens for the last spot, but as you can see, Ottawa has come out of nowhere to even get in the race. That story has grabbed headlines across the nation, so we headed to the Wings locker room to see if even they have taken notice of this crazy playoff race and the stories that have captured headlines, including that of the Bruins and Sens.
You know, that's a pretty cool story, and I'm a good buddies with Andy, so it's kind of feel for him a bit, but it's a great story for that kid coming up and playing great, and we've all been there, you know, getting a chance to show your stuff, and for him, he's making a good case for himself.
Well, I hear him a lot from my little brother, so he's obviously he's always talking to me about it and everything. And we understand what's going on. We see them; they're on the board right there, and we know that they're behind us and they're coming. And we know how it was last year. The year before is when you're in that playoff push. It's like playoff games. You're coming, you're bringing it, and you're trying to get any kind of scratch and claw for any kind of points.
Yeah, of course, you hear about it and you notice it and you see it. You know, the guys are coming and teams are chasing you from behind. So, but we know we have to start winning more games here than we've been doing lately, just not for the points, but also for how we're going to feel about ourselves going into the playoffs.
All right, guys, we as fans, that's what we do. We scoreboard watch, always see what's happening. But as players, former players now, how much did you take notice of what was happening around you?
All the time. Before the game, sometimes during the game, you look up at the scoreboard and see whether other games were going on that reflect or made a difference in your team that year if you're battling for the playoffs. And I was in St. Louis, and same thing. We had to fight to get in the playoffs the last 15 games. Every night you're looking at the scoreboard, even during the game, after the game, you'll go in the room with all the guys, watch whatever game really makes a difference in where your standings are. So 100%, the guys that tell you aren't lying. They're lying. They're all watching.
Yeah, I just know that I always view it's the industry you're in. We're sports fans and we're also players at the time. I was always really well engaged in terms of where we were and what was going on around the league. It's what you're all about.
Well, I know there's been a lot of scoreboard watching in New York. The Islanders have gone from a playoff lock to a bubble team in the East. Islanders have lost 7 straight at home and all of a sudden having trouble finding the back of the net. What's going on with the Isles? We'll start with you, Darren.
Well, John Tavares is their leader. He's their all-star. He's their captain, and he's a guy that has been held pointless in 6 of the last 8 games. He's 3rd in the league in scoring. If he doesn't go, they don't go very well.
Yeah, that's the problem with the Islanders right now. Is they have Tavares, and after that, they don't have a heck of a lot. The guys that were having great years the first half of the season have completely went dry. This is a quick team. They've lost 7 in a row at home, where they get 1 point one game, but they're only 3 points out of being in the wild card now, and that's not where any of us would have thought they would have been. They were in first place for quite a bit of this season. Now they're struggling to find their game, so this is a chance for the Red Wings to pounce on them in Long Island.
Absolutely. Well, if a Red Wings player scores a hat trick in this game, remember, they've been scoring in bunches lately, you can bring in a copy of the scoring summary to a participating Arby's location and get yourself a free small order of curly fries. You can find the scoring summary in your newspaper or on the Red Wings page at foxsportsdetroit.com. Well, it's almost time for the puck drop in Long Island. The Red Wings looking for back-to-back wins for the first time this month against an Islanders team that is reeling, losers of 7 of 8. Ken Daniels and Mickey Redmond have the call next. Enjoy the game, everybody.
As Red Wings Live continues, welcome to Nassau Veterans Memorial Coliseum. 43 years of history, soon to be history, off to Brooklyn next season. Justin Abdelkader making a bit of history on his own, standing by with Trevor Thompson.
Kenny, it was a big win yesterday for the Red Wings over the Lightning. They'll try to follow it up here today on Long Island. Justin, what aspect of the game do you guys really need to build on to keep that momentum going here this afternoon?
You know, I think we played really well defensively. We didn't give Tampa too much space, too much time in space. We played, executing our own zone, played 5 together. I think we need to continue with that and, you know, build off that. And Peter played good for us. I thought everyone played good as a unit of 5 on the ice. And it's a good team here. You know, they've been struggling of late, but they're going to play hard. They're fighting for the playoff spot.
Peter played well yesterday, but it was also good to get Pavel Datsyuk back. What kind of an impact does he have throughout the lineup with him in there?
It's amazing. I mean, he's one of the best players in the NHL, if not the best. And, you know, obviously other teams got a key on him, so it opens up space for other guys. He plays really well with Darren Hellman and Thomas Tatar. They really play well together. I think Helmer really skates for those guys. Tats is a shooter. He has a knack for scoring, and Pav just does what Pav does. And, you know, he really brings another element to our team, and I think it makes stuff on other teams, opposing teams, who to match up with, who to use their checking line against. So it was a big addition for us to get him back, and hopefully he can stay healthy.
You've got a hot hand, too. Good luck keeping that going this afternoon.
Thanks, Trev.
There goes Justin Abdicator. He's got goals in each of the last 4 games. If he can extend it to 5 today, that'll be a season high for any Red Wings scores so far. It's back to you, Ken.
All right, Trev, and on the other side of this break, Mickey will weigh in with the ABCs of Abdicator as we bring you up to puck drop here from Long Island.